What's up YouTube? Today we're going to be looking at the top 10 125 learner legal motorcycles. And keep in mind that this is totally opinion based, so anything that you find that's not in my list, comment down below if you think it should be in there. All the music used is from No Copyright Sounds, so go and check them out if you can. They make some great music. Now one thing to consider is that all of the ratings and bikes that you'll see are based mostly on the UK market, and will be most accurate for this area of the world. But realistically, any part of the world should be able to find these bikes, so let's get into it. For number 10 on my list, we're starting with the GT125R by Hyosung. What you're getting with this bike is a dual overhead cam V-twin 8-valve oil-cooled engine, which is capable of pushing out 14.2 horsepower with a top speed of 75 miles an hour. Since these are only 125cc's, they're not going to be pushing out a great amount of power, and learner league motorcycles in the UK are only limited to 15 horsepower, so the GT125R really does meet the performance requirements without breaking the bank. Speaking of, you could get a brand new model for £3,000, which in comparison to the other bikes on the list is very competitive. It shares the same body as its older brother, the 250R, so you'll definitely be getting a slightly bigger bike feel. Personally, I'm not a massive fan of the look of the bike, and that's why I've only given it a 6 out of 10, but you could have a completely different idea. Hyosung, being a Korean manufacturer doesn't necessarily mean that the quality of the bike is bad, but I do think this would be prudent to keep this bike regularly maintained and looked after very well, just like any other bike really. So all things considered, personally I give this a 7.1 out of 10. Number 9 on my list is an Perlier RS4, not to be confused with its two-stroke cousin, the Perlier RS125. As this one's not even legal, as it exceeds the UK's 15 brake horsepower learner legal limit. But luckily, the RS4's 4-stroke liquid-cooled dual overhead cam engine produces exactly 15 brake horsepower, capable of a top speed of around 75 miles an hour, although it'll take you a while to get there. Being an Italian manufacturer means that Aprilia has to compete with the likes of Ducati, and I don't think they fall short, as they make some incredibly nice bikes. And the RS4 is a fine example of a beautifully engineered machine, and you'll be wondering what you'll be paying for this. In the UK you'll probably be spending about £4 grand on one of these, but it is definitely possible getting one for around the 2000 mark, you just have to know where to look. The second-hand market can be a lifesaver when buying bikes like these, so it's always worth doing a lot of research. I think you'll be getting a big bike feel when you sit on this, as the height and the width of the bike is pretty good. So overall, from my personal opinion, it's going to be the same as the GT125 at 7.1 out of 10. So number 8 on my list is going to be the Honda CBR 125R. So these bikes have been out for ages, since 2004, and they certainly don't do any damage to Honda's brilliant reliability status. It sports a liquid-cooled single overhead cam 4-stroke single cylinder engine, pushing out about 13 brake horsepower with a top speed of around 70 miles an hour. With the added benefit of having the best fuel consumption on the list at 88 miles per gallon, so this bike is incredibly cheap to run as 125s stand. The only problem is how small it is. I personally don't think they should be making this bike so small, but then again it probably wouldn't have such great fuel consumption. For getting around town, a CBR 125 would be absolutely perfect. The tyres on the bike are a little bit narrow, but even with the skinny tyres, handling would be just fine. And to be honest, with that sort of seating position, I think it's ideal for city areas and places you're not going to be redlining the engine the whole time, like on 70 mile an hour roads. So as I mentioned before, Honda's Japanese reputation for being an absolute tank of a bike for reliability still stands, along with its quirky sports bike look and relatively cheap price depending on if you buy it second hand. It gets a solid 7.3 out of 10 for my opinion. Number 8 on my list is a Yamaha MT 125. But the reason it's on my list is because it's a badass bike. I mean, just take a look at it. But alongside those good looks, it has a great engine to match. You're getting a liquid-cooled, fuel-injected 4-stroke single overhead cam, single-cylinder 15 brake horsepower little monster, capable of a top speed of around 85 miles an hour. And for a 125, that's pretty damn good. And the reason it's not so high on my list is because it's quite expensive, at a new price of £4,300. But don't get me wrong, second hand you can get one for around £2,000, but they're really sought after and difficult to find. As far as reliability goes, Yamaha is one of the big four of Japan and is definitely up there. And if you weren't otherwise aware, the other three are Honda, Suzuki and Kawasaki. Japanese bikes seem to be the most popular around the world. So as an overall, the Yamaha MT gets a 7.4 out of 10 from me, just because it loses points on the price. fitting into number 6 on my list is the KTM RC125. I know I've just ranted on about how good the MT looks, but this bike is on another level. KTM really have pulled together a masterpiece here. To be honest, for a 125 I don't think you're going to be finding a better looking bike than this. Or maybe number 1 will beat it. Similar to the MT125, it falls down a lot on price, as you'll be paying £4,300 as well for this bike off the showroom floor. They are also available on the second hand market, but you have to be extremely lucky to find one. KTM headquarters is actually founded in Austria, and while not being so well known for their production sports bikes, they do know a thing or two, being part of the MotoGP. You'll be getting a liquid cooled 4-valve dual overhead cam 4-stroke single cylinder engine. With the power output of 15 brake horsepower and a top speed of 84 mph, it's pretty much on par with the MT125. And that's why it also gets a 7.4 out of 10. Well, that's it for now guys. These videos take quite a lot of time to make and I put a lot of effort into them. So please give me a like and subscribe because I do enjoy making them. And please keep a lookout because part 2 will be coming out soon. So anyway, thanks for watching this video, I really enjoyed making it, and see ya!